brain burps, brain burps about books. Brain burps, brain burps, brain burps about books. Katie Davis, she's the host. Kidlit chats on every post. Writing tips and Kidlit news. Anecdotes and interviews. Brain burps, brain burps, brain burps about books. Katie Davis's brain burps, brain burps, brain burps about books. The podcast.
So, welcome, Chris.
Hi, Katie. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. So, I would like to first start with this great quote that I found that you said. You said, "I always try to treat the book itself as the artwork. I don't want you to stop while you're reading one of my books and say, oh, what gorgeous illustration. I want you to stop at the end of the book and say, this is a good book." And the reason I love that quotation so much is because it's like any great art. I think, especially something that is integrated, not like a painting by, a Renaissance master, but for example, in the movies, if you notice the music, then or the soundtrack, I should say, then it takes away and you come out of it. So I love that you feel of it, that it's such an integrated thing.
Yes, I do think that. I think that the book itself, in its entirety, is the work of art, and not so much the illustrations. I kind of think the illustrations should look definitely unfinished without the text next to them. Of course, I've done one wordless picture book now, so that's changed a little bit. But I do think of the whole book, how the pages turn, how everything moves, the size of the book, all that kind of stuff very much.
I love that. I definitely agree. When I'm doing a funny picture book especially, I always think of the pages leading up to the page turn that shows the funny thing as sort of a setup, like a joke, and the page turn is the punchline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's all about the pacing. I think that even writers should be making dummies for themselves to see how everything plays out.
Exactly. That's what I've always asked, or that's what I've always told anyone who's asked me about writing a picture book text is, think of it as a 32-page something or other. Mm-hmm. Where the pages have to turn. And I think that kind of, that framework or that thing you have to deal with is actually kind of a freeing thing. It kind of focuses you.
Right.
It's got to be finished by 32, that kind of thing. So.
That's really interesting because don't you have a lot of novelist friends who would say, I could never do a picture book?
Or they say, that's really easy.
Yeah.
Which is probably true too. But no, I think Michael DiCaprio was that's Apollo. Michael DiCaprio was saying, I gave him a a text for a picture.
Sorry, the cat is just right
Apollo.
in the camera.
Here, just lie down right here.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's perfect. I gave him this picture book text, and he said it's too complete. It's just too complete. You can't turn this into a picture book. So, I wasn't heeding my own words. Actually, that text may become part of a longer, like, middle grade thing. So
it's interesting because I find that when I have something like that, well, let me rephrase this. The process of creating something, it always seems to be in one way very much the same as every other process, that I have to go through the agony before I can get to the ecstasy, in effect. Yeah. And I always think, and in fact, Jane Yolen also said this to me, that she always thinks that once she does it, she's like, oh, okay, now I know how to do that. Next time it'll be easier. And it never is. You have to go through the agony. Don't you agree? Or do you agree?
I'm so glad. Because, definitely. I go through agony every time, and I always think, by this point, I've been doing this long enough, I should be able to just not crank them out, but it should just be a sort of always forward-moving process, and it never is. It's always sort of stumble forward, get knocked in the head, fall backwards, stumble down the stairs. Mm-hmm. And I'm working on a book right now that's just going over and over, and I have so much time. But when I think about every other book I've done, if I'm honest, they've all been that way. So that's kind of comforting, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sometimes I get to something, I'm like, why did I not think of that before? This is so obvious to me now. But I think it becomes only obvious after you've gone through all the bloodletting.
Exactly.
So
I think when I first started, I really had total breakdowns. Now I don't have breakdowns like I just really can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. This is all awful. Now I realize it is part of the process. I think
and I think that's really great for people who are not as experienced as you to hear that from somebody who is as respected and esteemed as somebody like you who does such incredible work and has won the biggest awards in our industry. And people who are at the beginning think, oh my gosh, I must be doing it wrong because I don't know what I'm doing yet. But everybody goes through that. I hear this. I listen to WFUV, and they have these 5-minute interviews with artists, with recording artists, and they all say the same thing. It's just part of the creative process. It doesn't have to do with our output or their output. It is the process itself of creativity.
Exactly. And I think one thing that has helped me, one thing I would say that I have learned a little bit is to separate the creative mind from the critical mind. And this is Apollo. And he likes conversation. He likes to have people around talking, so he likes to be part of it.
He's a beautiful cat.
Apollo, you will just lie down here. Everything will be fine. But what I have learned is, I think, because my initial impulse is to kind of hate what I've done, is to work and stop when it's time to stop, which is determined more by the clock than whether I've finished something, and then put it away, put it in the drawer, and then come back to it. Even just the next day, pulling it out of the flat file, that in itself is helpful, I think.
Do you have any show and tell for us, for the people watching the video?
I have some show and tell. Let me show you the next book of mine that will come out, which is called Everyone Can Learn to Ride a Bicycle. So I brought some of the dummies because, as we were saying, I believe the book itself is the work of art. I am someone who always does full dummies. And
full dummies, did you say?
Yeah. So I really like to have a dummy that you can really turn. You probably can't really see this, but I'll show you a little bit of it. This is an uncolored one, but it's about a girl learning to ride a bicycle.
But I love the palette.
Yeah, I like the colors pretty well.
Wow.
And so it started off this way.
Uh-huh.
There you go. That's my son.
Hi.
I'm doing a video interview with Katie Davis. And this is my son, who's the animator.
Hi. My son's at Ringling College of Art and Design. I was telling your dad that I think you should check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good filmation.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so that was the first one. Here's the second one. I was trying to find... This one isn't really bound formally.
Now, Chris, before you continue to show us, just as far as process, because people can make a dummy just from stapling pages together if they want. Yeah. And I don't want them, especially beginners, to feel intimidated by that insanely gorgeous dummy that you created that you go, oh, well, it's not bound. I mean, it looks beautiful to me. So how do you do the outside? And can you just tell us a little of the actual the mechanics?
Physical, yeah. Well, the first one is this, and this is basic. I guess it's called side sewn Japanese style signatures. So it's how did I do this one?
And is that
Let's see.
painted? Is that
This is brown paper. This is kind of a print pastel paper. And so the brown is the color of the paper itself, and then it's just ink of black and white ink. So I'm not sure even how I folded this.
Can you,
but you can
hold it up a little bit, please? Higher.
sorry.
Yeah, higher. That's great.
You can fold these things a number of different ways. You can fold, say, 4 pieces of paper together, and that would make 4 pieces of paper would make 16 pages because you have
Right.
2 on the
back.
face and 2 on the back. So you have 16. That's probably what I did. Folded 4 together twice, and then squashed it flat. Then sewed through here using this kind of. Sorry. Let me get
perfect.
get my.
I know it's hard because you're backwards probably. And
No, I'm just not paying attention to it. I have to still sew through here, and then it just holds it like this. The only thing you have to watch out for is that you leave yourself plenty of gutter so that things don't disappear.
Right.
Another way to do it is this way, and this is your basic portfolio, which.
So you bought the cover and painted it?
I made the cover.
You
I
made the
made the portfolio.
Okay.
So it's 2 boards. These are boards, basically, and then you can buy this stuff is book cloth, and you can make the corners with book cloth. There's lots of books that teach you how to make a portfolio like this, but basically you're cutting boards, book cloth, and then paper to fold over it, and you just use a bookbinding paste and you smear it down anyway, and you can make any kind of any shape portfolio, which is just a simple folder for anything you want. Then I cut the pages to size. And so here it's all loose, which I think I did just for. So this one's all
You
loose.
just did for what? I lost that word.
Just for easiness. I didn't have time to figure it out. So this is just painted on one side, very simply.
When is this coming out?
This is coming out in the spring.
From whom?
Schwartz and Wade. So that's kind of what that one looks like. And this, if you look at the art of this, it's quite stylized and simple and abstract, which I kind of like, but we all, Ann Schwartz is the editor, Lee Wade is the art director, we all decided it was just too abstract for this fairly pragmatic topic, which is learning how to ride a bicycle.
Right.
So then I made this one. Now this one I did in a way that I don't usually do. I painted it, and then what did I do? I think I scanned everything, and then I printed onto nice paper. And this is basically, again, 2 signatures. You can see.
Yes.
You can sort of see that's 2 signatures sewn very simply together in a pamphlet style. And then, so then you can just read through it. How does this book go anyway? Everyone can learn to ride a bicycle. Of course, you need to find the perfect bike, yes. So this is closer to what it looks in black and white. The finish is going to look pretty much like this.
I love it.
All right, let me show you. What's this? Oh, this is just loose stuff. This is kind of the art style that it will be. This is just a collection of odds and ends, I think. Yeah, odds and ends. Shall I show you something else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm loving this.
Now here is a better book dummy. Here's a different kind of book dummy. This one, I'm doing another Daisy book to follow up A Ball for Daisy. And it's called Daisy Gets Lost.
Automatically, I'm like, oh no.
Yes, she gets lost.
Yeah.
And this one, I did another different kind of printing, or binding, I should say, and I based it on some sketchbooks that I like to buy at Pearl Paint. What I do generally is, if I find a little book that I like the look of, I just kind of stare at it long enough till I figure out if I can recreate it myself. So, again, this is two 16-page signatures, which are, I think they're sewn together because the paper's thin enough. You can just sew it through, whoops,
Right.
3 points. You go in the middle and then out these two sides, and then you tie it in the middle.
And you've done the artwork already, and then you put it together.
I do the artwork. The only complicated thing with this is the pages, because you're really making a book. The pages won't line up one after the other. So you'll have page 1 opposite page 8.
Right.
You just have to make sure you know what you're doing. And then you can paint everything. And then I fold it up and sew it in there. Then let's see, and then you have to create end papers that you then glue to the edge of this thing, and then glue onto your board, which you have already put paper on of some kind.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love to make book dummies, and I am always changing how I do them. So
why do you think you're always changing? Because of the content, or just because you have fun doing it?
Because I have fun doing it. I forget how I did it last time. Like, here's another one. Here's another book that will come out. This one I think I just...
When Lions Roar.
When Lions Roar. This is written by Roby Harris. This one I just did individual spreads, I think. Yeah. And then sewed them. So this is one spread. Did I paint on the back of that?
Can you hold it up, please?
Oops, sorry.
Thanks.
Sorry. Thank you for...
Oh, I love that. When rockets blast, when cymbals crash, when mommies yell, when daddies shout. I love it.
Yeah. The finished book looks nothing like this. This version got rejected long ago.
Why? I love that spread.
It
looks scary, though, right?
Well, that was the main thing. It was scary looking.
Yeah.
Of course, the book is about being scared. So I thought, well, it's about being scared.
Right.
But
you don't want to scare the kid. You want to make them feel like it's okay to be scared.
Yeah. Here's the scary. And then the child sits down and kind of rallies himself and closes his eyes, and he thinks about things. Here's a little portrait of Apollo on his back. And then his parents are singing, this kind of stuff. Nice. Fish. So the final book looks nothing like this. But here's another one that's I'm working on at the moment, also not written by me. And this one is, again, just the portfolio thing. When I don't have when I don't have enough time to work on it, I do just a loose portfolio. Here's we could look at this very closely. These are all the notes from my edit.
See, even Chris Raschka gets notes.
We'll crumple that up. So this is how this is going to look.
Oh, I love that, and I love the larger. I don't know, it's a more graphic look.
Yeah.
And I really like that for that
Good.
age. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very for a very young for a very young bunch of readers, I think. So I try to keep it pretty simple.
Mm-hmm. Do you keep your art afterwards, or do you donate it, or?
I keep it. I give it away.
Mm-hmm.
I've sold some things, but it's fairly haphazard. I will. What do you do with your art?
Funny you should ask that. I just today received in the mail these postcards. If you can see this. Let's see, wait. It says it's from the Dodd Center.
Oh, at the University of
at
Connecticut.
UConn, yeah. And they're calling it Katie's Big Day, which is really cute because my last book was Little Chicken's Big Day. And it's so, when they came to me and asked me if I would donate, I was like, what do you want all my crap for? It's like, and they said, it's not crap, it's your papers. And they actually say in this invitation, Katie's Big Day provides a glimpse into the Katie Davis papers, which is just embarrassing. But the Katie Davis papers, it just seems way too lofty. It just seems like they're faking it. I can't really accept
I know that has been my problem too. And I've been to the University of Connecticut. It's wonderful archive. And,
yeah, it's incredible.
I think I'm going to donate my stuff at some point. I'm not sure where we'll go. I have close ties to the folks at the Curlin Collection too.
My husband's from Connecticut, and we probably eventually will end up moving there after all kids are in college or gone or whatever. And I've gone to the Children's Book Fair in November every year. And it's in November. It's November 10th or something. And so the people are great. They've always treated me well, and I just thought, it's good. It's East Coast. I'm an East Coaster, so tri-state kind of thing.
Yeah. I know. It's.
Let me tell you, if you live in an apartment in New York City, you might want the space it provides. I cannot believe how much space I got after I gave them all my quote-unquote crap.
So how much did you give?
I gave them everything I had up to date. They wanted things from my childhood. They wanted
thing you have.
They wanted sketches. They wanted napkins that I had drawn ideas on, everything. And I have a hard time parting with things. So I got rid of so much. I'm looking over here because I'm thinking about where I had it stored. And they came to my studio and we went through everything. They said, okay, put things in piles like this is childhood, this is that. They took all my dummies. They even took sketches I did when I was creating my website.
That's great.
Everything. Which brings me to, you don't have a website, do you? Well, Chris.
Actually, I'm sort of slowly building one.
Chris, what up?
My problem is if I have a website, I want it to be nice, and I haven't had the time to devote to, even if I'm not going to be the one doing work, obviously, but I do want to be.
Well, I can hook you up
involved.
if you want a good designer and a really good programmer. I have two people I would never ever recommend if I didn't know how fabulous they were.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So
okay.
I'll let you know.
I'll keep that.
Because I really think you need one. Because I was trying to do research on you from your perspective, and the only thing I found also from your childhood was
much. Yeah, I'm sorry, you were sort of broken up.
Oh, sorry.
You say you didn't find much of anything?
Well, I found from other people, but I didn't find anything from your perspective, which most authors or illustrators, when they have a website, you can find out stuff, little tidbits that you put in that
Right.
just don't happen to float to the surface when you're being interviewed by someone else. But I did find this quote, and I wanted to ask you about it. You said the entire month of August has improved since you were 8. And because when I was 8, August lasted like 4.5 years, and now it's about 3 days. I want to know, what was so bad about August? What, was it because you were...
I think I just mean that August was the beginning of dreading the return of school.
Ah, yeah.
And so that's what that was. Basically.
Hi.
Comes Lighty. There she goes. Everyone's coming.
That's
through.
okay. It'll make a fun video. So you were going to go to med school, and I think that was great because when you talk about from Publishers Weekly, I think this was when A Poke in the Eye, a collection of concrete poems. Mm-hmm. It's a critically acclaimed anthology that was both a New York Times Book Review Best Illustrated Children's Book and a Publishers Weekly Best Book of the Year. And then you said, quote, "I approached it with a version of the Hippocratic Oath. This was my goal. Do no harm to these poems, which are all beautiful. I wanted my illustrations to be little welcoming introductions away in." And I love that, the Hippocratic Oath attitude toward illustration.
Yeah. Oh, I think especially with poetry, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to keep in mind because if you're too heavy-handed with the illustration, I think it can just it's like hugging something too hotly or too sweatily.
Yeah.
Hugging this poem, you want to give the poem plenty of respect and just a nice setting or actually even not even a setting, but something to play off of maybe.
I think Douglas Florian does that really well with his artwork and his poems.
He's one of my greatest. He's someone whose work I like as much as anybody.
Me
basically.
too.
I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, okay, so this may be a little known or widely known fact. I don't know, but you knit.
I do knit. That's true.
So you and Rosie Greer and maybe 4 other guys on the planet. So you're gonna show. I want to see some stuff you knit. I knit also.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll show you my first of the modern era.
How long have you been knitting?
Well, I learned when I was a kid, and
I taught my son and my daughter also.
I went to Waldorf school when I was 12, so I learned to knit then.
Cool.
Then I lived in, anyway, this is my first
awesome.
So a little large.
Yeah.
It's actually over 20 years old.
Wow.
But I learned to knit. Then after college, I worked in a children's home where all my colleagues knit. So I said, okay, teach me how to knit again. So then I learned to knit there again. And let's see if that sweater's around here. That's right. This was my very first one. Amazingly enough, this sweater is over 30 years old, and my son now wears it.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so then 10 years later, I had my mother reteach me, and I have been knitting off and on since.
It's funny. I knit like a demon. Every chance I could get. If I get in the car, no matter where I was, I'd take a train into the city. No matter what. And all of a sudden, I think I don't know what. All of a sudden, I was like, okay, had enough. But I knit sweaters and coats, long coats, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm sure I'm taking a break, but I don't know. I just all of a sudden I needed to not do it.
That's interesting. Well, I can imagine that. And I generally knit in the winter when it's when it's chilly and it's more cozy. One thing I'm doing now is, and I always find something kind of new that interests me. Mm-hmm. And right now, people give me yarn, and the colors are awful usually. So I don't use them. until recently when I realized I could just dye everything. So now I use yarn, and I've been experimenting with dyeing stuff. And I do have some, I'm not sure where it is, but I have a sweater that was green, various shades of green, which I dyed brown. Mm-hmm. So now it's a very odd looking color.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I have way too much of this gray, sort of beige gray, and I hate the color. I bought a ton of it because I thought I was going to do this for my mother-in-law, and then she was like, "No, I don't really need a sweater. I don't like it. I don't like, or I don't wear wool or something. I don't know what it was." And I was like, "Okay, I made a big mistake there," and then I was stuck with skeins and skeins.
Oh no, I love gray. Here's my awesome. This is my latest innovation. I like.
Oh, and you use the straight needles. I always use the doubles.
Straight needles. I like bamboo, but when you use straight needles, and I'm knitting this sweater in the
round.
This is my innovation. These beads that you stick on the end.
Yeah, that's great.
And keeps the sweater from falling.
They also sell stuff like that. They sell those like little stoppers. Not as nice as those beads, though.
Yeah.
So, okay, Chris, do you want to tell us anything else? Like you're going to be involved in Picture Book Month. You're doing a day for Picture Book Month, which I don't have my calendar up, and to say what day you are. Do you know what day you are?
I don't know what day. I think have I already done that? I think so.
It's in November.
Yes. I mean, I think what I'm supposed to do for that I've already done. I can't remember what's actually going to happen. So anyway, I know I'm involved in that, but I can't remember what it was. I think I've already done it.
Yes, that's good. So this will be coming out around that time too. But
Great.
Can you let's talk a little bit about picture books, because it is Picture Book Month, and I would like to know how you feel, if there's anything you want to share about this new movement in digital and all that stuff. Do you have any interest in it? Have people approached you to digitize your picture books or make apps or anything like that?
Well, I actually am getting involved in that with a company called Open Road, which is going to do some digital versions of older books of mine that are no longer in print. And so I'm certainly not averse to it. But as we were talking before, I still love the page turn, and of course, a page turn digitally is not quite as satisfying.
Yes.
But I think it is. It's part of our world, and there are obviously lots of advantages to it. It's not really part of my world personally yet. I will probably keep creating. I'll probably keep creating books the way I have been creating books. I mean, I was sort of doing it in a very old-fashioned way even 20 years ago. So I'll probably keep doing it in an old-fashioned way now. But I think I don't think digital picture books will be the end of picture books. Traditional picture books at all. I think picture books have been around for at least 100 years.
I agree. I think
they'll keep going. Somehow.
Yeah, I think it's just another choice.
Sure.
And a choice for different times. You would choose a picture book out of paper a different time than you would choose a picture book from a video. And it's just like. People are like, oh, no, nobody's going to tell stories anymore now that there's radio. Oh, no, nobody's going to listen to radio now that there's movies. Nobody's going to go to the movies now that there's TV. It goes on. And so I think storytelling will always win out.
Yes, I think so, too. And I know I listen to the radio when I work, and sometimes I think, I'm overloading my brain. And... So sometimes I do just shut everything off and try to return to a real stillness. But then ultimately I listen again, and it is part of our world. And when the radio came out, a lot of people felt it was the end of the world. So And then TV, obviously, it's the end of the world.
Do you listen to music while you work, or
Listen to music,
to
yeah.
stories? Okay. So, Chris, all right, let me ask you this. Well, first of all, before I ask you my last big question, do you have any art that you would be embarrassed to show that you would like to show? Like old, or things from when you were a kid or anything like that?
Let's see. Because I'm not at my studio, I don't have any old kid stuff here, do I? I don't. But I can show you something else. Hang on.
Awesome.
This is not artwork, but it's my family.
Oh, this is great.
I wonder if we're going to be able to see this.
Yeah,
Let's see.
if you, that's good. It's a little blurry, but it's a little close, I think, maybe.
It's a little close now?
I don't know. I think...
Here's my mother. Whoops.
Wow.
I want it to glare. Maybe it's going to glare.
No, that's good. That's good. That angle is good.
This is my mother.
Mm-hmm.
This is my father's mother.
You have to lift it up a little.
From Detroit.
Uh-huh. Love the haircut.
Yeah. Here's my mother. My mother's from Vienna. Here's her grandmother in Vienna.
Wow.
And here I am, little bambino.
Wow. So did you always do art when you were little?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
And my
Thank
mother,
you for sharing that.
It's the only thing was hanging on the wall. My mother kept. She kept everything. I have my earliest piece of art is from when I was 2, and my mother wrote very carefully "fish." So I guess my first drawing was of a fish.
So is anybody else artistic in your family?
My brother is an architect, no longer practicing as an architect, but he was very. He's my older brother, and he was really sort of instrumental in my own work, in that he was always very supportive, always gave me his art supplies when he didn't need them. I, in fact, have some of his early stuff from architecture school. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
And
neat.
that grandmother that I showed you, she did attend briefly the Art Institute of Chicago.
Wow. That's
The Art Institute of Chicago.
because that was quite some time ago. And
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was let's see, when was she born? That was in the early 19,
like 20s.
and probably even 10s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So, okay, let's get to my last question.
Okay. Yes.
Now, I sent you 2 choices. I sent you, if you could go to the yard sale of any character in the history of children's literature, whose would you go to and what one thing would you buy? And I also asked you, if you could work for any character in the history of children's literature, who would you work for and what would your job be? So, which would you like to answer?
I think I will answer the yard sale.
Okay.
Question, because I do like yard sales and flea markets. I would go to the land of the Moomins in Finland. I don't know if you know the Moomins.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go to Moomin Papa's yard sale, and I would buy his rowboat.
Love it. And where would you go in the rowboat?
Oh, well, all over the world, of course.
That's great. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you doing all the show and tell. And we put it off a week so that we could do this. And I really, really thank you for that.
My pleasure. Thanks for all your tips and for the work, and good luck to us both.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Katie.
Bye.
Brain burps, brain burps, brain burps about books. Brain burps, brain burps, brain burps about books. Katie Davis, she's the host. Kidlit chats on every post. Writing tips and Kidlit news. Anecdotes and interviews. Brain burps, brain burps, brain burps about books. Katie Davis's brain burps, brain burps, brain burps about books.